Hello and welcome to the Arena Sports Show. I go by the name of Clauiee Grace Mpanza. Absolutely excited to have you alongside us. I mean, South Africans are absolutely ecstatic after Bafana Bafana pulled one out of the bag in Bloemfontein. So we continue with the excitement, and joining me today is a super panel that I'm absolutely excited about. One guest took us 2 years to actually plan him down, and we're going to forgive him on this one. Lebogang, Manyama, who I call, of course, Coach Rada now, is alongside, of course, us, and we also have sports physician Dr. Ntlopi Moguru joins us as well. And man, the stories that we've been having with Dr. Ntlopi, and listen, he's been giving us the hot tea that I'm like, oh my goodness, which is nice, of course, to get the wisdom from the doc. And then we have my usual favorite influencer, Mahlatse Mphahlele. Always a pleasure. And I mean, he's got company today in that brand that we're not going to name. And they were talking about how apparently all the best players are in that brand, which I don't know about, but you can always, of course, indulge us. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing? We can start with you, influencer.
I'm good. A bit tired. I played soccer this morning with Bongani, Kumalo, Teko, Stiga.
So what position were you playing? Because you normally claim.
You know me, yeah? You know me, yeah? I'm always cooking, yeah?
Always cooking.
You know the story.
Always cooking.
And I love that you were cooking, because I was watching you, Lebogang, not so long ago during the week. And I'm shocked that you can still play, bro. Like,
See, now you're going to raise...
No, dog, that
unnecessary
60% is
rumors.
still cooking. What do you mean?
You know that here in South Africa is very smart. Or very, very clean, to say. So they'll hear certain things and think otherwise. But
And
it
think
was just
between
fun.
your back.
Yeah, it was just fun.
No, he was just playing for fun, guys. But he still can, of course, play. Doc, were you also playing? What were you doing for fun this week?
No. I was playing mind games.
You were playing
Mind games.
No, mind games will do. As you can tell, Sizo Mabena is not around. But let's find out what his great excuse is this week.
Guys, don't forget to give a special shout out to me, who's missing the show because I'm just so tied up with playoffs and World Cup qualifiers as a commentator. I unfortunately can't be there, but I'm dying to be there. So give me a shout out, man. Be nice. Give me a shout out. Mahlatse, I know Clauiee won't do it. It's up to you, bro. Give me a shout out, bro. Seriously, man. Give me a shout out. Just one shout out, chance. Like, shout out my pencil. Just give me a shout out, man.
Well, fortunately for me, no click, click, bang this week, so I'm happy with that. No complaints. But we keep things moving. A lot has been happening in the world of sports. So let's quickly find out what's been happening in your headlines. Mamelodi Sundowns utility player Thapelo Morena scored a brace to keep Bafana Bafana's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualification hopes on track with a convincing 3-1 victory over Zimbabwe at Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein on Tuesday. Bafana, now nestled in second place in Group C, and goal difference went level to 7 points with leaders Rwanda and third place Benin. Group heavyweights Nigeria have had a disastrous start with 3 draws and a defeat to have only 3 points. The Proteas have conquered the Big Apple by winning their 3 T20 World Cup matches against Bangladesh, Netherlands and Sri Lanka, but their focus turns to the Caribbean. The World Cup continues with a tricky clash against unfancied Nepal in St. Vincent on Saturday, where they will be looking to make it 4 out of 4 and arrive at the Super 8 in style. Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus has named a squad of 35 players for the team's first official training camp of the season in Pretoria to prepare for the opening test of the season against Wales on the 22nd of June. The Boks are now in for a blockbuster 2024 season kicking off later this month against Wales in London, and the squad includes 11 uncapped players and a cohort of players from the 2019 and 2023 Rugby World Cup winning squads. All right, cool. We now move over to my favorite part of the show, the Star of the Week, where we basically choose who has impressed us in the past 7 days. Lebogang, Manyama, I'll start with you. Who has been your Star of the Week in the past few days?
There's been a few in the past few days, but after last night, I think Bafana as a whole, and if you ask me to pick an individual, I think the moment between Ronwe and Tebza and Relay is the Star of the Week for me. Whatever happened there and how it went out, I think that shows a lot about our national team at this moment and what they have in their squad. And it's something to just be happy about, and to be lovely to watch, actually, to see them having that kind of brotherhood in that team instead of the competition that the media raises in terms of who's better than who.
For sure.
You know, we don't need that at the moment. I think guys like Relebohile, Apollos, and the other young ones coming out in the MDC, they need more like role models like Ronwen to teach them certain things in certain moments. Thebs are included, you know. So that moment for me, I think, was the star of the week. But besides that, if there's no individual, I think Bafana Bafana was the star of the week.
And you always say Bafana Kaufela. Every time Bafana is on, Lebogang will be on that point. I'm like, I love that. So it shows that brotherhood continues not only on the field of play, but also, you know, outside that. Because I know you support the players as well, where you guys will send each other messages and a bit of roast now and again.
Yeah, look, it's. I played for the national team before. I played with a lot of the guys. Some of the guys like Doc knows I was at SuperSport. Like guys like Ronwen, Aubrey, they're good friends of mine. You know, Shishi is a top friend of mine. I've known him forever, before PSL and all the fame and all the games we've played.
Yeah.
So there are a lot, Grant, you know, there are a lot of guys that I know in the national team. But right now I speak as a South African, and I think when a person like me comes out in support of a national team like that, it gives them also, you know, a lot of positiveness and courage to say, you know, the guys that have played before are not looking at us and thinking and hoping that we fail. But I'm more like, I want to be in the World Cup with them when they go to 2026, you know, travel a bit. So I see it also as an opportunity. So when they do well, it gives me more time also to say, I want to be in the States to go support Bafana in the States. Would be quite nice, actually.
Everybody wants to. Sizo Mabena is literally on the edge. He was telling me that, oh my goodness, I might be going to the States now. So we're all hoping that Bafana will do that. Doc, who has been your star of the week?
Well, mine goes to the Bloemfontein community. You know, we've never had such a full stadium like we did yesterday in the longest time, especially when Bafana is playing. So for me, you know, it goes out to the community and say, you know what, they are setting a good example to, you know, KZN, Limpopo, to say, you know what, come and support the good brand of football that Bafana is playing.
I like that. And I mean, I think we've missed Bloom 14 years without, of course, going there. So I think they made a great showcase for themselves that they definitely do deserve that. Influencer, what about you?
You should have asked me first because Doc took mine.
I wanted to end with you because you normally take other people's ones.
I think kudos should go to the pool of Bloemfontein. It's been a long time since we saw Bafana play in front of that kind of atmosphere. And the reality is, I mean, Lebs have played professional football. I'll tell you, if you are a player, you walk out to warm up and you hear that noise.
For sure.
It just sort of psychs you. And part of the reason why we won that match was because of the backing from the fans. But I also want to make a special mention of also Napolis. For me, I think he was the player of the match. I think a very, very good footballer. And also shout out to the coach, Chipa, who believed in him when he was down and out, Kuala Lekopo. He was telling me that he went to fetch him at home. He was overweight, he lost interest. He brought him back at Petra Kelly's last season, he worked on him. And now he's playing for Bafana. And if we qualify for the World Cup, I can tell you, he'll be part of the players who will play contra the World Cup. So yeah, the Polo Bloom, Bafana as a whole, good performance. One of the best performance from Bafana I've seen in a very long time.
100%. And then quickly to round up mile one, it has to be in the world of Formula One, where we saw Max Verstappen in the past race in Canada going on to win that race. He was, of course, not the favorite to win that. So I thought absolutely impressive, especially because that RB20 is not performing the way that it needs to, especially after those updates. So a lot of questioning has to be done with the Red Bull. But Max still on top. And, of course, especially when you put him aside, Checo Perez, where his teammate is not doing well in the same car. So I think top up, of course, to Max, keeping things moving. Jake White has a lot to say, as of course they are preparing for the semi-finals, wanting the fans as well to show up at the stadium. So let's quickly find out what more he has to say.
This week is we're going to need everybody here. We need 52,000 people here like we did against the Stormers. There's no use getting a home game and not using that as an advantage. And I understand people are, you know, it's the middle of the month, people struggle, they don't always have the money to pay. It's got 2 kids, you want to bring them to rugby, you bring them to the quarterfinal, then the semi-final. Okay, chances are, and again, we could be away, but then there's 2 test matches and one is at Loftus. So the average guy who lives in Pretoria doesn't really have the income to visit quarterfinals, semi-finals, Ireland Test match. So I'm hoping now, my plea to the public is we're going to need them. We need whoever comes here to feel as though the Loftus faithful are actually in full cry. One of the questions they asked me now, the coaches, there weren't many people here. And I said, that's because we struggle financially with, the average family can't afford to watch four games of rugby in a month with 2 kids, and his wife. That's 4 tickets. And the average family can't really, especially in the middle of the month, afford that. So hopefully next week we'll get a few more people. And as I said, hopefully even guys who live in Joburg who can drive down the highway, hopefully they also come and watch. Because let's be fair, guys, this is the dress rehearsal of the test match that's at Loftus. They're going to bring almost the Irish team here. So there's 2 things that are nice about it. One is we can measure how good we are against Ireland. And 2 is it gives all these players who want to play for South Africa a first-hand chance of showing the national selectors and Rassie that they can compete against the best players. Now, that's from my side. That's what I can control. Is I've got to create this week everything possible for every boy who wants to be a Springbok to feel like he can compete against Leinster or Ulster.
I think just, if you talk about Leinster, all the international experience that they have, that's a team that's been growing and has been consistent this past seasons, and they know each other, and they haven't been doing it just at URC. They've been doing it in Heineken Cup. They've been doing it from the international side. And then you take a side like Ulster, which is also passionate, and, I think the flow and the way they can build phases in a game puts oppositions under pressure. That's when the spaces come. In terms of how they manage their games and the kicking game as well, and when to put pressure. And I think at the end of the day, when they enter your 22, they leave there with points. It's not that they get there and they leave with nothing, So that's going to be a work on for us. There's a few things we identified tonight where we can sharpen up, especially on our 22 when defending, just getting off the line, putting them under pressure. But those are fixables, So no, we're looking forward to whatever's coming this week.
All right, so we're keeping things moving. As we've heard from the gentleman, a lot of the star of the week's coming from the Bafana Bafana team. So let's quickly now get into that conversation, gentlemen. Influencer, I'm going to start with you because the last time we met, which was last week, we were talking about the centre-back where we were trying to see who is the Lord Mvala going to be paired alongside. And you went with Bodlela and coach didn't see it that side. We saw Ngezana being given the chance. Talk to us of what you saw from that pairing. Of course, with the fact that unfortunately you got it wrong.
Yeah, well, I got it wrong, but I'm happy that Ngezana got an opportunity to play alongside Mvala. Even though I think from a football perspective, I'm still a little bit concerned. And obviously, when we say these things, most of the times, it's not because we're bashing the guys or anything like that. But if you closely look at the 2 players, there are guys who you would feel that when they are constantly under a lot of pressure, play against better opposition, they tend to make a lot of mistakes. And I'm just not sure if this is a central defensive partnership that can take us forward. I possibly see a change when Krankana comes back. Maybe Grant taking his position and Ngezana or Mvala going to the bench. But over these 2 matches, they've done very well. We can't complain.
Yeah.
And I think also the influence of Ronwin behind them. He's always talking, and I was also very impressed with the way that the fact that Ngezana was new in the side didn't make Ronwin to change his way of playing. He was also always trying to play from the back, and you can see that they had confidence in Ngezana to give him the ball to try and start moves from the back. I'm quite happy with what they gave us in these 2 matches. I'm just not sure if this is the best centre pairing that we can have going forward.
All right, Lebza, with you, I want to find out, there's been a lot of talk in terms of Percy Tau and a lot of criticism. I thought personally, maybe I'm being biased here because you know how I feel about my homeboys.
Yeah.
I'll always try to protect them. But in terms of, the bashing that he's getting and criticizing the quality that Percy is, this as a footballer, that, sometimes your role is different. The coach will tell you that, no, I need you to play a certain way today, and you need to adapt to that. Talk to us about Percy and the role that he's playing currently for Bafana Bafana.
Look, like Coach Peter said, Clauiee, Pizza out. Percy's resume speaks for itself. What he's achieved is not by fluke.
Yeah.
And for me, I had this argument with some of my friends yesterday, you know. The first thing when I look at Percy is the 5th best scorer in the country, ever. So how did Percy now become a player that's not good enough for the national team all of a sudden?
Yeah.
When the chips were down about 2 or 3 years ago, where we didn't have any players coming out, that's actually when Percy was scoring the goals for us. We got to a quarterfinal under Stuart Baxter when Lodge scored.
Yeah.
Percy was one of the best players in the qualifying campaigns of that year and that AFCON. You understand? Yes, there is new blood coming in. Exciting. I love it. What I saw from Apollos yesterday is a sign of a top coach.
For sure.
Before the player, you understand? To get a guy playing for Polokwane City and to have him at that stage, play like he played yesterday, play like he's played there for quite a while.
For sure.
Tells you a lot about that squad. So as a nation, we need to be quite smart with players like Percy because there's 6 games to go. I can tell you right now that the Zimbabwe that we faced yesterday is not the Zimbabwe we're going to face in September. When those Oaks get their tune in, they get their players back, and they get their house in order, they're a different beast.
I mean, you look at the fact that that bench, the technical bench, it's
Yes.
all interim, right?
It's all interim.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
and you look
plays
at the
a
players
part.
that they missed also right now. There's still a Knowledge Musona.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still wants to play.
Yeah.
You cannot take away quality. And players like that for them is where our Percy comes in. Because when they start calling Karma, they start calling Percy, not Percy, Knowledge, and the other ones, you must see how Zimbabwe will react.
For sure.
Whether these Oaks come back and play well or play bad, they will support these Oaks. And this is what we have to do, because I can tell you right now, going to Rwanda, going to Zimbabwe, even Lesotho,
Yeah.
in this group is open. Everybody sees a chance, especially when the big team or the big country is not doing well. Everybody now sees a space to be top of that group.
For sure.
Now you're going to need Percy
Yeah.
for the experience, you know? Not because we don't trust Relay, we don't trust Apollos, we don't trust Jaden Adams, we don't trust all the new guys coming in.
But
Sometimes we can
experience,
throw them in the deep end. Africa is tough.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be there to understand.
For sure.
I played in Africa. I played for the national team. I know how tough it is. Even the smallest of countries that you think didn't exist in about 10 years ago, when you go there, it's different. You know, because what they have exactly what we have yesterday. And they have it daily, actually. They have it in every game. They have what Bloemfontein gave the national team yesterday. So you can't write off a player and a personality like Percy. Because when Percy is in a lineup, for me, the opponents know that that's Percy.
For sure.
And this is a player that's about 2 weeks or 3 or a month ago is the Intercontinental Player of the Year, current. And now he's not good enough for our national team.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to be quite honest as South Africans, and we need to be quite honest also in terms of our own self-introspection, you know, because we tend to expect things that some of us didn't even get to reach from other people. We need to be honest with that, you know. We're wanting things from Percy that there are a lot of players that are that were at a level that we thought could do it, but they don't have the 15 goals Percy has for the national team.
Dropping bars, Lebogang, Manyama. Doc, I'll bring you in here. I mean, earlier on, you spoke about Bloem as, of course, being your star of the week. I want to talk about the boy, the man from Bloem, Thapelo Morena, who, of course, then got that man of the match. But, you know, when you look into Thapelo, you look into not only the versatility, but the attitude, Doc. And I always marvel at that, because whether he starts or he's from the bench, same attitude. That smile that we saw from Relay yesterday, Thapelo will always come with a good attitude. He'll come with that positivity, wanting to impact the game. Talk to us about him as a player and, of course, those attributes.
I'm glad you're mentioning the attitude part of the game, and that's what kills a lot of good players.
Yeah.
Some players are used to being on the first 11, and when they get dropped, they drop their heads, the attitude changes. But kudos to Mamelodi Sundowns for what they've done to him, a humble boy from Bloemfontein, coming down to Gauteng, and he's been used as a right back, he's been used as a right winger all the time, and he doesn't complain.
Yeah.
He whatever mandate the coach gives him, he goes in there and delivers, and that's why even today, he's still improving up his game, same as Mudau.
Yeah.
So for me, kudos to Thapelo, and the 2 goals he scored. I mean, really, it was not a fluke.
For sure.
It's through hard work. That has been put through from Sundowns.
And to add on what Doc just to say, sorry about, I mean,
stress.
there's a game where Steelers played Sundowns, and Lunga was struggling with Titus a lot.
Yeah.
And they had to sub Lunga, and they put Tapelo at left back. He was the man of the match, coming on as a sub. And that shows you the attitude of the guy. I've known him, he's very calm off the field. It's always the same smile. So, but like you said, you know, when you talk about a relay, he will have that smile because there's guys like Tapelo who are seniors who have that
Yes,
smile. So
for
that's when I
sure.
say role models in the team are big.
They're crucial.
They're very
Yeah.
important for these kids, yeah.
And talking about Tapelo, Coach Peter used to say, when you're playing at Sundowns, you can't play one position.
Yeah.
Our guys must learn to be utility. He goes to play attacker, he does well, wing, all these kinds of things. That shows you how valuable he is to Sundowns and to the national team. He can help us. He's,
He plays striker sometimes.
he plays striker
Yes,
sometimes. I mean,
yes.
he's 4 players in one,
In one,
and you know that's valuable. But also just to add a bit on the Pesitao issue, we should be careful not to sort of undermine him. I agree with Lebza. Pesi can't suddenly become a bad player overnight.
For sure.
But also having said that, we must also accept that players sometimes lose form. He has lost form, and that's real. It's a reality of a sportsman or of a sportswoman. But it does not mean that when our players lost form, we should bash him. And I mean, and even Messi and Ronaldo sometimes don't deliver. We should rally behind the guy. We should support him. You know, hope that he can come back. We still have a long way
For sure.
in these qualifiers. So we're going to need him.
Yeah.
We're going to need his goals. We're going to need his leadership on and off the field. And let's not bash him. Let's support him. I agree with the coach. It's sometimes it's disheartening to see South Africans do this to players.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess to a large extent, fans have got a right to question certain things, but we really don't have to bring our players down. Pesitao is a good footballer. We need him. He needs us. And we should just support the guy and hopeful that he can continue to deliver the goods going forward with these qualifiers.
100%. Before we wrap up this Bafana chat, Doc, ahead of these 2 games that we just played, we had, of course, you know, knocks from certain players in terms of be it a hamstring or groin, and Coach Hugo emphasized that maybe there's something that needs to be looked at as to maybe we're missing something. Talk to us about those kind of injuries and perhaps also what may lead to that, and also considering the fact that the number of games that Mamelodi Sundowns players play, does it also play a part?
Yeah, look, it's a very difficult question because we don't, in South Africa, we don't have a standard way of conditioning, you know, in terms of players. You find that because of facilities and, you know, pocket-wise, some teams are well equipped to have biokinetics who are there, you know, for conditioning. Some teams don't even know what the biokinetics does.
For sure.
And all this, you know, so they only rely on what they have. Teams like Sundowns, you know, mileage-wise, I mean, they've been playing a lot of games. So they need to have a better way of managing injuries, because injuries are not preventable at all.
Yeah.
Soccer is it's a contact sport, and when there's contact sport, you know, you're gonna get injured at some point. So it depends on your rehabilitation programs. You know, if you have a good good system, then your rehab gets better, then so that, you know, you get players back into circulation the quickest way. We've had the longest season. You know, it's unfortunate that, you know, we are playing World Cup qualifiers at the end of the season, and when the, you know, players are worn out and stuff like that. But unfortunately, these are professionals, you know, that they need to be taught, you know, on how to conduct themselves on and off the field.
Yeah.
Because medicals can only do so much. You know, the rest depends on a player, on a player. So going forward, I think they need to take care of themselves, and smaller injuries need to be treated. You know, rehab. Players need to be told about professionalism. They need to know what professionalism is all about. Your diet,
For sure.
you know, what you do on and off the field.
100% influencer.
Just to also add that, Doc, there's this thing that the coach has been, maybe not complaining, but has been raising this issue that he needs to meet the PSL coaches. And it is very clear over a sustained period of time that something is missing there in terms of communication between the clubs and the national team, obviously from the coaches and also from the medical and conditioning people and fitness. Because, I mean, if you look at Sundowns, these guys all played almost 60 matches this past season. It's a lot. And also, obviously I'm not a medical person, but, Sundowns players don't train. Now, also, maybe the language that the coach uses of saying Sundowns players are overloaded and all those kinds of things, and it shows that there's no communication. If there was communication, maybe he will have a better understanding of where the Sundowns players are when they get to the national team, how much they must be treated. Not that they must be favored, but it's a physiological thing.
Absolutely.
You need to treat them differently to the other players because they are not playing the same number of matches. And also, it's not all about the number of matches they are playing. They're traveling. These guys are spent almost half their times in airports and hotels and running around the whole continent. So the way you treat them when they get to the national team at the end of the season surely must be different from how you treat other players who don't play as many matches as Sundowns players are. So I'm just saying a better communication between national teams and the PSL coaches will go a long way. Maybe Lebo, this is coming.
Yeah, I knew. I could sense where
It's coming to you, right?
I could sense. Yeah, but influence is spot on. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say much because I think that's in between the national team head coach and all the head coaches.
For sure.
But I can say that there is a gap that they need, because I'm there. I know. You know, there is a gap that needs to be bridged in between them. But
Yeah.
I think more especially. Firstly, I'll go into the Sundowns part. I think with Sundowns, it has to be more than the other teams. Reason being, we have the most players there.
Yeah.
And honestly, we have the spine of our national team there. They play the most games. The national team and Sundowns should have a better relationship. Not to say the other teams don't matter, but
Yeah.
I think if it's here with the other teams, Sundowns should be different a bit more. Like he said, they
For
don't
sure.
train much, these guys. And you can see the injuries. If there's hamstring, Doc will second me. Hamstrings and dislocated shoulders, those are things that you need to be at the gym, training, you're doing your extras, but they don't have time for that, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest issue is not the biggest, but another issue that we seem to turn a blind eye to. As a nation, I will ask one question. Are we ready for Coach Hugo Bruce to sometimes rest Bomukwena, Lebo Mshishi? I don't think we are. And I think that's where we kill ourselves again, because we have to play Bomshishi, Lebo Bruce, Lebo Tebza, and all the starters, Bo Grante, Bo Kudiso. We have to play them in every game. Reason being, if Bruce loses one game, we complain.
Yeah.
We don't give him room to rotate and bring in now. Boa Police must be now the seniors in that squad. I'm not saying they play there because they're the second team. But in games where we're playing your Lesotho's, I don't see a reason why we should be playing what Tebza, who have to play so much.
Yeah.
Especially right now with the year that Sundowns is about to have, with the Club World Cup, with the country trying to qualify for a World Cup also.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, when teams like us that see that Sundowns have so much of a schedule, we now eyeing the other competitions because they'll be busy. That means we'll be working extra hard to try reach that level. I was talking to Doc right now, I was saying Sundowns is good. What they're doing is good because it's now improving each and every coach. You have to think when you play against Sundowns and what they do. You understand? So I think as a nation, we must also allow the national team coach. I think by now he's ended.
Yeah.
He's earned the right to say, I'll call whoever I want because I can make it work. We all complained about him
At
before.
the beginning, yeah.
But right now, it has to come to a nation has to be patient, especially with this team. I keep pleading that this team needs all the support because there is something special in this team. But how are we going to save these players? It also has to come from the nation to allow Coach Hugo Bruce sometimes to call all under 23s.
Oh,
And
that
if
would
they
be
go there
nice.
and lose,
Yeah.
okay, it's fine, they lost.
And then
but
we don't throw
the
our
goal is
toys
bigger than
about
the
it,
loss.
yeah,
The
for
goal should be
sure.
bigger than the loss. So that Tebza doesn't have to play 70 games like he's played. He's traveling with a hamstring and he's still pulling. Kuriso, I mean, what he's doing with his shoulder is exemplary, but does he deserve to do that? He's doing it for us, to be quite honest, and we respect him for that. But does he have to?
For sure.
He has to right now because we have to qualify. But now if we go to another international week and we're playing Lesotho, with all due respect to Lesotho, but we're playing all the countries that are near us because it's international week, there's nothing to qualify for.
Sure.
Are we as a nation ready for Coach Hugo Bruce to call out the kids, the future, to come, not experiment, but give them experience and try to now get a strong squad from these 23-year-olds? Because they also got under 23 Olympics and stuff to come. So it would be nice for them to be with Coach Hugo Bruce so that when they go from there, they go straight into a national team. But we are a results-oriented country. If he loses 2 games to Botswana and Namibia, we start. How are you going to beat Nigeria if you're losing to them? Football is one. Doesn't matter who you're playing.
Yeah.
But the importance is to get continuation. Because now we're all crying about Mshishi being at that age. He is at that age. He will stop when he wants to, for me.
Yeah.
You know? But next, who's coming next?
Who's after Mshishi? That is
Who's after? That's the question, you know? But that person needs a chance to come. But right now, there's no space for that person to play because we all want wins every time. Wins, which sometimes we need to say, we're allowed to lose because we see the bigger picture in 5 years' time that Relay will be Mshishi or even better. You know, but he needs the time in the national team. And right now, as a country, we're not giving these players time and we're not giving Coach Hugo Bruce any room to make a mistake.
Sure. All right. So interesting. While you guys were talking, I remember listening to Pep Guardiola and he was talking about Vincent Kompany. And he was talking about Vincent Kompany's structure, and maybe Doc, this is going to come to you, where he was saying Kompany is a big guy. So how Kompany trains is different from everybody else. How I manage him, it's absolutely different because his weight is a bit different. So he gives me different things. So now when you look into our setup here at home and how we train our players, is that something that we look into to say, all right, this is how I will treat my certain players, or then does everybody train the same way?
Look, it's the best way to, we are individuals and we differ. And I think it's the coaches, if coaches would take that into consideration and do individualized training. You can, for example, I don't expect mobile midfielders to train the same way as your wingers. Your body is structured differently.
Yeah.
Our coaches don't have that time, enough time to actually give to individualized training. If that was done, I mean, I watched a few clips of how Rulani, individualizes his training, and you really appreciate, to say this man knows my weaknesses, and he wants to improve on my weaknesses.
For sure.
Even when you go into that pitch, you know that this is what he expects of you. So I think more, if our coaches could actually make more time, for individualized training, then as a country, we would definitely improve on that.
So Lebo, add on that, because during the week, I know when you're also playing for fun, that you mentioned that there's certain things that you can't do currently, because of your injury, right? But now you're also a coach, and you recently just retired, but I think in your head and your heart, you'll always be a footballer. So talk to us about the structure and treating those players differently within a team.
Look, it's like having two cars. Having a car that has a 200,000 K mileage and having a new car. You basically can't drive these cars the same way.
Yeah.
It will be easier for you to go from here to Polokwane.
Look at you bringing cars. I like that you're catering to us motorsport fans.
I'm just saying that in the sense that it will be easier for you to go from here to Durban with the 0 kilometers than the 2,000. It's more riskier with this one.
For sure.
So you'll obviously take care of Mshishi better than you take care, not better, but a relay in terms of the training load. Because Mshishi has had his mileage and relay is still coming.
Yeah.
So sometimes Mshishi will rest, but Relay will do more on those days. Because Mshishi's body doesn't need more. It's already got more already from all those years, while Relay still needs to come and grow even more physically. He still has room for that. So that's where you manage it a bit better. And obviously the starters get specialized, not specialized, but they train different from the non-starters because they play most of the games. And if you're Sundowns, you're playing every 2-3 days. Of course, the guys that start, your Mshishis, they will train less. But training less is a big risk. Like Doc will tell you, it's a big risk. So that's where the attitude now comes in. Are you ready to now do it alone at home? Are you ready to now take up, if you can't control a ball, are you ready to go on a pitch wherever you stay to train all those things? Because it's easier for coaches to say do this and that and that and that and tell you where you lack.
Yeah.
But I feel like in our country where we lack is what we do ourselves as players. You know, we train 9 to 12 and then we meet tomorrow at 9.
Yeah.
In this time that we're not together, what is a player doing? You know, I'm talking from experience because I know I didn't do much at that time. But for me, it was a lesson that I learned later on that had I invested a bit more earlier, you know, I would have, and maybe if I had better education then, because with Times there's more education also in terms of the sports science side of things. We learn more with sports science now than we did, to be quite honest, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So now you're more advanced. You know there's GPSs, there's running distance, there's kilometers. So you now know yourself that I need to be doing extras. And to be quite honest, the demands of the game, with that tempo yesterday, you cannot allow yourself to rely on training at your club only. You cannot cope with that intensity.
I fully agree. On that note, let's quickly find out what Tiko Modise has to say about the young relay that we were talking about. And then, of course, we'll continue the conversation with the two gentlemen, of course, and the influencer.
I think, he's far better when you compare to his age group. He's far ahead. And kudos as well to Orlando Pirates for protecting him, and also for Coach Rivera to actually believing in the young man and give him more minutes. And then some other players, some other youngsters, when you give them more minutes, they tend to choke it sometimes. And the boy has been one of the outstanding players for Orlando Pirates. And I also thought that with the number of players who were provided with to go to AFCON, even if he doesn't play, just being part of the national team, it helps the youngster to have the hunger to play for the national team. In 2008, when we went for AFCON, Itu Milenkoen never played a match. But what happened after that? Became one of the best goalkeepers in the country and for the national team as well, just to create the hunger, to make the player understand the environment. And I'm glad that he made his debut. And I'm sure that he's hungry for more. And that's what you need for youngsters, just to create the hunger. And also that, I think it helps him as well to be level-headed. So I'm very excited. I think he could have made his debut a long time ago.
Well, great to see, of course, another legend talking well about relay, and we're wishing him nothing but the best, but we keep things moving here. And influencer earlier on, we were talking about, players, same with you, Rada, the fact that players need to, of course, work just a bit harder to make sure that they stay in top-flight football and actually manage the game time, especially when you look into the upcoming season. So now, Doc, question to you. When you look into recovery, because sometimes that is something that coaches will want to rush to say, but I need this player. I need you to fight for me. Talk to us about the recovery process that sometimes might be rushed because of the urgency of the results that we spoke about.
As a medical personnel, you should not bow to pressure from any coach to tell you that they need the player the quickest way. Otherwise, you'll be compromising the player's career.
Yeah.
I always maintain that I would want to give a coach a 100% fit player than giving you a 60% player, which will reduce, time after time until they can only play 30%. Give you 30%. As a medical personnel, the first standard rule is you make sure that the players are fit.
Yeah. You
can give your coaches a very fit player. So in terms of recovery, they have to go through normal recovery processes. If for example, an injury needed the surgery, you have to heal. The surgery has to heal. Then one has to do simple physio, starting from scratch, passive exercises until you are fully rehabilitated.
You know why I also ask this? I remember the 98 World Cup final where the original Ronaldo, when he speaks about that afterwards, saying that, funny thing is that I don't remember feeling my legs because, he was also injured and then they did the injecting thing that they do. Maybe you can also clarify what injection that is. But in that instance, he looks back and says, maybe I could have still been playing. But at that point, yes, it was great to play a final, but unfortunately, that was also a career-threatening decision. Talk to us about that.
Look, I discourage any player that needs injection before they play, because now you're going to numb the pain and make the injury worse. So every game that they play, they will need actually double the injections, because now the injury has gotten a bit worse. So I discourage any doctor that gives a player an injection before the game. And when you don't do that, the coaches don't like you that much, because they want the player. But I always say, I need to save the player.
Do they not try to fire you as well?
Yeah.
Sorry,
the player,
Lebo.
the player will not like
wants to
me.
play.
Oh, the player also won't like you.
We fought a lot.
But I maintain. I mean, there were instances where during half time, a player feels he can go, and I say, you cannot go. You cannot go in. If you want to go in, and the coach looks at the player and they say, I need you, boy.
Yeah.
And I say, this guy is going to get another player next season to replace you, because you won't be there. So if the two of you agree, please can we sign a disclaimer? I'm not part of anything that goes, that's going to go wrong.
For sure.
Then you realize the player says, you know what, I think, let me sign in. You can talk to Ntlopi about the incident. He'll tell you. It was really bad. But I'm proud that I saved his career. He managed to play until had he decided to go with the coach, then he would have long stopped playing. So it's important that you become reasonable in the manner in which you manage your injuries. I mean, Ronaldo, the phenomenon. I'm not talking about the phenomenon.
Yeah.
So I mean, if the doctor did not give him injections because of pressure from the coaches, he could have played extra 3-4 years. You know.
100%.
The Ronaldo story is even said because it was actually not the coaches, it was the sponsors and people, external forces from outside football, which needed him in the final. And as we all know now, what happened after that, he was never quite the same player.
So the bottom line, the bottom line is, currently I'm a sort of medical legal practitioner. So what I do is I sort of tap into the wrongdoings of doctors. How unreasonable doctors become, and because of this pressure. For example, in the Ronaldo case, why did the doctor do it? Were you reasonable to do such a thing? If this was your son,
would you do
would
that?
Would you do that?
Yeah. That's true.
Ntlopi, just to add on something here, I see there's a growing trend in football of concussion, head injuries. I mean, as somebody who follows rugby and cricket quite closely, in rugby, if the ball hits your helmet, you out. In rugby, they even take it even more serious that when you get hit on the head, you go out, you go downstairs to get checked. You can come back, either come back or cannot come back. And if it's more severe, you are not even allowed to play the next weekend, going through the protocols. But in football, do you have a sense that we are taking these head injuries very seriously?
Nope, we're not taking them very, very seriously. And that's why, in all the teams that I've worked with, my biggest hurdle has been on head injuries. I don't take lightly to head injuries. I'll put you away for a minimum of 3 to 6 weeks without contact. You can do light exercises, but I believe one day there'll be the biggest lawsuit coming out of this, because the effects of head injuries are seen years after the concussion has happened. You find that someone has been a very nice guy, all of a sudden he gets aggressive, and no one gets to the bottom of analyzing what has really caused this aggressive. So I don't take lightly into concussion, and that's where I have this rift with coaches. If we have a player, I take you out minimum 3 weeks.
No, Doc is completely right. I think it's high time that even players, as players, and I'll speak from experience. Doc knows. I'm one person that's played. A little bit of pain for me is where I come from. We use that mentality that mele baze bakusike inyawo for you to stop playing.
Yeah,
You know, that
yeah.
mentality ruined us a little bit, you know.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I, for one, know very well that had I not played certain games, I'd probably be playing right now, you know. But footballers need to, at this day and age, speak. Speak, because what makes it easier for the doctor, especially, is a player saying to the coach, I'm not feeling okay.
Yeah.
Players will say to doc, we're very easy to doc, I can't pay nail. But when it gets to the coach, yes, coach, I can do it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to look like you won't die for this coach. But when did sports become a matter of life and death, honestly?
For sure.
But now it becomes that, like Doc says, when you have to play with a concussion, and now it is a matter of life and death. You understand? So I feel like players should now be open to speaking, but also as us as coaches should also understand that we're not playing for somebody's life here, to be quite honest. Yes, it matters a lot because there's sponsors, there's money, but it doesn't have to get to a point where we're now risking our lives, like we, with all due respect to military, but like not just a military. Football is entertainment.
Yeah.
You should be 100% to play football, you know, but players must speak and make it easier also for the doctors, because the clash comes in between the players when the players now mix it with the coaches and then now go to the doc and say the other thing. Now coach comes and says, Lebo said it's okay.
okay.
You
So
saying Lebo
you
is not
saying
okay.
it's not.
So now who's not doing their job here? You know, and also there's our chairmen who are always, I always say they are high pressure. They want to be there all the time. So Lebo now when they see Lebo is out this week, oh damn, Lebo is one of our best players. Doc, what can you do? We need Lebo this weekend.
Yeah.
You understand? They go to Lebo and then they're like, dude, we're playing Sundowns. You know,
We
we
need
get
you to show
brainwashed so
up,
much
yeah.
into the football that we forget that health is
The human part of it, right?
Yeah, health is priority. Health is priority. You can't do anything if you're not healthy.
100%.
So I think the players also need to take it upon themselves to be honest, because
Yeah.
football is long. Football is not one game. It's not that, as much as Champions League final is important, everybody wants to play it.
Yeah.
There's going to be one next year.
Exactly. And another one.
And
the
another
next
one.
season.
It never
yeah.
stops. So you always get that chance. As long as you keep performing at 100% capacity, you get
Sure.
a better chance of being there. Rather than keep on, like Doc saying, you are 70, you play, next season you are 50, you play. Then your chances of playing Champions League get
And
lesser
then
and
you're
lesser,
done.
actually.
Yeah. So Doc, add on that, and also maybe also touch on the recurring injuries, because Lebza, you know this. I think you've suffered with your injury for a good 2 years, but yes, there's the misdiagnosis that came with that. But also there are players, I know Loch as well, with his shoulder. He's had it for years. Talk to us about also how you deal with such injuries.
Look, there are minor niggling injuries, you know, knocks here and there, you know, that the physio would normally attend to. There are serious injuries, like recurring injuries, like your hamstrings and your quads, your shoulders, you know. In most cases, because, you know, if you have a shoulder like Lodge and then Mudau, you know, it doesn't look that serious, but in terms of mobility, it's gonna affect you. For example, this is football. You need your legs, but you also need your shoulders to help you,
Yeah.
you know, to propel, to go forward. So if you have weak shoulders and recurring shoulder injuries, and it doesn't get treated,
Yeah.
every time it gets pulled out, and there are ligaments here, you know, keeps dislocating all the time. You're making the problem. Now the time when you are supposed to need to get surgery, you're gonna stay much longer than when, you know, if it was attended to, you know, the earliest. But because the coaches needed you at that particular moment, so it becomes a problem. Now you need to have a program that is aligned with the team.
For sure.
If I remember when I was at Platinum Stars, we, you know, if we have a very good medical team, the medical team that consists of a biokinetist as a doctor, you have physios, you have the masseurs. That's a complete team.
Yeah.
I tell you, if you get an injury, a hamstring, grade 3 or grade 4 that is completely torn, would give you 4 weeks full recovery. And I tell you, before 4 weeks, the player is back.
Sure.
When Platinum Stars became won those 2 cups, and then we became second. I think the league was won by Chiefs.
Yeah, you need the Chiefs.
Yeah,
That's
it was
right.
the Chiefs. We never had injuries for 2 years.
Lebo Godfather.
Yes, we've got we never battled with injuries because we had a complete medical team, and the coach at the time understood, because I had a meeting with them. I said, guys, you can sign 40 players. It's fine. Those who are injured are going to follow a normal procedure of rehabilitation. We're not going to be under any pressure to release unfit players to you, and then you look bad. So you sign as many players as you like, but we will try and facilitate the rehabilitation process. So in most cases, the recurring of injuries is because of one, misdiagnosis, improperly treated injuries because of pressure from the coaches. And you must remember, a lot of people are working under, there's, people, everyone wants to work, there's no job opportunities.
Yeah.
So if the coach feels that this man is not giving me, as a physio, is not giving me what I'm looking for, I'm going to look for another physio. This man is going to lose his job.
Yeah.
So most professionals are working under that pressure, and which is not right.
For sure.
Which is not right, and that reduces the players playing. Yes.
And I can agree with you on that, Coach. Lebo, I remember when you announced your retirement, and I never thought we'd ever talk about this because I remember I was so mad at you. And yes, it wasn't your fault, but I remember us talking about it and you just alluding to the fact that it took you time as well to say yes after X amount of surgeries, and then it just didn't go according to plan. Talk to us about that process, and now when you look into it in hindsight, because I'm sure you've had time to also think about it and where things went wrong, as much as yes, it wasn't your fault, and you just said that yes, maybe I could have not played certain games, but there was also another team involved into where you are today.
Yeah, look, I mean, that period, I think I probably tried everything, with some of the best help even in the country, but sometimes fate will lead you in a direction where you just have to let go and let God take over, and I felt with me, it more or less, when I look at, like you said, when I look at today, and I kind of think, this is just how my life was supposed to be, It was harder to accept then, but now when you look at everything that's happened afterwards, and you realize and you're like, it was supposed to be like this, because there are so many options I could have taken back then, but I chose the ones that I took, in terms of maybe the doctors. Maybe if I'd gone to doctor, I would have been good, but maybe if I'd gone to him, I would have been worse also. So you kind of think about all these things, but you got to realize that you're not responsible for, or you're not in control of where you will be tomorrow, to be quite honest, and how things tend to work. Sometimes you have to sit back and really appreciate. For me, the biggest point was realizing what I had done in my career without even realizing I was doing it. Because once you stop, I realized, and then when I saw everybody's reaction, I was like, oh, okay.
So you didn't expect that reaction?
It was just a passing by thing.
Really?
To be quite honest. Not a passing by thing, but it was just putting it out there to save all the chairmen from calling me and having to wait to see what's happening. Because I had quite a lot of offers, to be quite honest. Even the offer to stay at Chiefs, had I been fit, I would have stayed at Chiefs.
Yeah.
I believe that very well, and it was how it was supposed to be, but unfortunately, it's not how it was supposed to be. And once it got there, I had to now look and self-introspect also, to say, did I do the extras when I had to do the extras? You have to be honest with yourself sometimes. Did I take the rest on nights when I could have done so and didn't?
Sure. Yeah.
Those kind of things, those little things do count.
Yeah.
When you now look at the whole package, in terms of, I'll put like a Ronaldo, Cristiano. When you look at the whole package, he never misses anything that has to do with Ronaldo, the body, the physical side, or what it needs to be in terms of who he is today,
Yeah.
And I feel like our players should take that and listen to stories like mine and realize that you sometimes need to do more, I was lucky because I got the chance to sort of redeem myself in a lot of situations, you know. Like when I was at SuperSport, I was still young and had a lot of things going on. Like you said, the city lights. It's normal for a South African kid to get those city lights, to be confused by that. Because South Africans, to be quite honest, we come from challenged backgrounds.
Yeah.
We don't know what money is. So when I went from SuperSport or from IX to SuperSport, it was like going from 1 rand to 10 rand. It is a big difference. You don't know that. I was never taught how to deal with it.
For sure.
To deal with that 10 rand. But obviously, when you get a chance like I did, so my message to the boys right now is, you might not have a chance that I got. You understand? I had the chance to go from SuperSport, where Coach Gordon had so much belief in me, you know?
Yeah.
Not many people know that I played very well at SuperSport. We even won a trophy. I was arguably the best player in that tournament after Tuso. You know, Tuso won it eventually, but we were like the kingpins of that Telkom Cup. They'll remember that season. You understand? But because of the other things that we did off the field, I couldn't cope like maybe the other guys could do with those things.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know my body. I didn't teach myself all these things. So the background kills us a bit as South Africans. So you need to now take it upon yourself and say, when I went to ACS, I started to realize that, look, why couldn't I play from a Saturday and a Tuesday? And it was quite simple, because when we won on Saturday, I thought it was normal to, when you win, you celebrate. That's how Kokasi we do. After winning, you celebrate, you forget about the game Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or else I could have go home, rest, recover, be ready to play on Saturdays. You know, and that's when time went on.
Shady ice baths as well.
Yeah, people started to talk about the consistency in my game. And those kind of things, that's what killed me.
Yeah.
That I had the talent to play good today,
Yeah.
but in 2 days' time, I probably would not be ready, because I was young and thought each and every win after that is a celebration, which is not, honestly. But going back on the injuries, I think that's what kills most of our players, that when we win on Saturday, they want to go out like, now we've won the Champions League and it's the last game of the season, and you got another game on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But you see the performance on Tuesday, and then you ask yourself, why? You know,
What
but
happened?
I personally know why, and I see it a lot with the players now, and I try to tell them that avoid these kind of things, you know, try to stay away from it, do this, do that. But also, you have to live. We cannot fault people for going to restaurants and having 2 glasses of whatever they people are people. Whether you play sports, you're an actor, at the end of the day, you have to do things that human beings do, but there has to be a limitation, and you have to know where to cut the line, actually.
100% influencer.
No, I think it's good, because the players at City now have an advantage, because youngsters need a reference point, and you will serve as a very good reference point. And,
Absolutely.
you know, coming up to this, we actually spoke to Coach Eric Tingler this Coach Eric Tingler, when he was getting his A license the other day, the certificate, and he spoke very highly of you as a leader when you were at Cape Town City the first time around and stuff like that. And you know, our football now needs more and more and more people like you who have been there, you know, made mistakes and came back, to talk about these things to these young kids, because it saddens me sometimes when we hear stuff that kids, they do, for example, at DDC. A kid plays 1 or 2 matches, and then, you know, 1 flight to Cape Town and back and Durban, then they think they've arrived. You start earning a stipend of 5,000 rands, and then you think you've arrived. Some, they change their hairstyle, the earrings are like this, and, you know, they wear, they change completely. It's just a lifestyle thing. And that can be good. Hence, I'm also very happy with a player like Mofokeng. You know, we've spoken to him from once in a while, and he still stays at home with his parents. You will hardly hear anything. Well, not hardly. You never hear anything about the kid. It looks like there's, he's in the right environment also at parents with the coach. And the point I was trying to say that I think the players at City have a very good advantage of him, to talk to them about what makes a proper professional football.
Yeah, I think also it goes about, and also I'd say this because I've heard it a lot from ex-players, the so-called bad boys, and I've heard them speak their stories, and I think for me it's to try to do it differently. I feel like when you go and tell a kid what you were doing yesterday at a club, you giving them the idea.
Yeah.
The language shouldn't be what you were doing there.
Yeah.
You should try to now cover what you're doing and now put it in a context where they can learn from the situation. Not tell them that you were doing this and that, and then have a smile as if it was the right thing to do, even though it was something that made you happy at that time. You know, because most of these things we do at night, at clubs, at whatever, we are happy at that moment, to be quite honest. You understand? But it's wrong at that moment. So even when you say it, you mustn't say it like it's okay to go do it because you're going to have a second chance. I feel like the message comes out wrong. A lot of times you hear a person that's played before saying their story, but you almost get a feeling that he's telling you that, no, it's okay, go do it, you get a second chance tomorrow.
That's wrong.
We shouldn't. We should be telling them that you might not even get this chance.
Yeah.
You understand? So value the chance that you have right now, and you've made your mistakes, it's fine, but what do you do after that?
100%. And Doc, to add on that, I mean, it's one thing to, you know, take accountability for some of the decisions that you make as a player. But what I want to find out from you, I mean, we hear this a lot in terms of age also being a factor, that when you're younger, yes, you can recover a bit quicker, but when you're a bit older, it might take a bit more time. So I want to find out from an aspect here, that being you, the age factor in terms of injuries, how crucial is it?
Look, my belief is we need to teach players as young as they are to take good care of themselves, because the older you get, naturally, your body is worn out. It's got, you know, too much beatings.
Yeah.
You know, from nature, and other things in life. You know.
For sure.
So your healing becomes slow every time you get an injury when you're older, simply because your immune system is about to shut down because of age. You know, it's a normal aging process.
For sure.
Yeah. So the younger they are, you know, it's better to tell them how to carry themselves, to, you know, alcohol, you can drink alcohol.
But not when you're injured, Doc, because they forget that. They think when you're injured now, it's time to drink.
Yeah, you know, and it's a pity our health or our medical composition in these teams are not properly constituted. We should be having psychologists involved.
100%.
We should be taking, you know, when we do medicals, you know, I wrote a script about how medicals should be conducted, and then I gave it to the chairman before COVID, and I said to him, this will improve the standard of football in the country, because no team in the country does eye testing. No team in the country will do eye testing. And eye testing, you wonder why this striker at this proximity all the time, he misses the target. Yeah.
I'll go and you dog.
No, on a serious note. No. I mean, because you might be far-sighted or near-sighted.
True, yeah, that's a good point.
So you are 10 meters away from the goals, but your eyesight sees 100 meters.
For sure.
And that's why you balloon the ball and say, but why will I a goalkeeper when you should have just played? But it's simply because of eyesight. But we don't do that. I remember when I was at Sundowns, I took a couple of players, and that was back then, you know, when the Brian Balois, you know, the Peter Ndlovus there. I took Lerato Shabangu for an eye test, because I noticed when he was playing on the left side, there came a point where I think he couldn't see where the line was. So he needed to attract the ball and turn this way. I took him, and they realized that his left eye,
so there was no vision.
The vision was totally impaired to a certain degree. Now imagine if that player, with that skill he had, the pace he had, you know, if that was identified much earlier, that vision could have been corrected. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It's important that teams invest a lot of money into their medical structure, because without medical systems, we will not have good footballers. Doesn't matter how skillful you are. If medical systems don't support your skills, it's...
So just to add to what on the issue of the age, I doctor treated my left knee a while back. Imagine you wanted to know how old I am. I said, hey, are you sure?
You know what's a funny part? Everybody that didn't play football as a career now gets to the age of 35 upwards and actually wants to play football. And you see the injuries and I'm like, hey guys, like you don't just go and play football. There's years that you need to gain to be at a certain level physically to do this thing, you know? Because I can play once and I'll not get injured. Because my body is used to this kind of movements. Even my mind is used to a certain level.
So Lebza for me, it's actually even running because I ran, you know. So now I started feeling, man, when I run, when I come back, I'm feeling something in my knee. I said, no, man, I called doctor. Okay, there's a problem there, man. I'll check.
Like a lot of my friends are like, I saw here. I'm like, no, you're not injured. It's just that your body is not used to taking such hits. Mine is used. If I feel a hamstring now, if I'm playing, I'll know that it's gonna tear. I must stop. What else? If you're not a professional footballer before and know all these things, you continue up until it just goes. And once it goes, you, like Doc says, they finish it in 4 weeks. They didn't tell you that it's at least 6 months if you're not properly taken care of. So imagine Doc makes it in 4 weeks, and you don't have the proper treatment to have to wait 6 months.
Sure.
He was
That's
worried
crazy.
that I gave the wrong age.
So Doc, are you saying he's older? Or the body is older?
No, the body, you know, got a lot of beatings, you know. That's all I could say.
But Doc is right, you know. You should the health issue is it's one scary one, you know. Because right now I'm gonna mention something that people don't really know. But when you're at the teams like I've done, I've actually when now there was a problem with hearts, Doc, with players having problem with hearts. I actually went back and checked all my medicals that I had to do at the clubs, except Europe and in the country only. And I'm not going to mention names, but I played for 6 clubs and I only did a heart test back to back, only in one team, back to back. You understand? And if I count all the teams, I've done it in 2 teams, but back to back in one. And then I looked at it and I was like, well, what if somebody's got a problem like their genes, where they come from in terms of their heart, and then you let them play? And Doc mentioned something that the biggest lawsuit will come out of this country one day. Will not believe it. He's right. Because if somebody falls down and you haven't done the test before, it's a problem.
Sure. That's crazy because
you know I just want to and these teams don't really take this matter seriously. I mean, firstly, you look at the registration form.
Exactly.
The registration form that the teams are filling just to register players. It's not intense. It's, you know, it doesn't require you to do an ECG just to check, you know,
To check your heart.
your heart. And I remember we once had a meeting with the chairman. I said to him, he was saying, no, but teams don't have money. I said, but chairman, money is not an issue. The issue is about choices. If a team travels from Cape Town to Joburg and it doesn't bring their own doctor, but they bring 5 technical guys who are not going to benefit the team on the day, why don't you substitute one technical guy with a doctor? You know what I'm saying? So the issue is not about money. The issue is about preferences. And these are wrong preferences.
And shortcuts also.
And shortcuts. So if the PSL would, you know, put a law out there to say, when you do medicals, there has to be an echogram, there has to be an ECG, you know, there has to be, because they also need to do your bloods, you know, to check if you're not taking any steroids, check if there's APOs, and marijuana. They need to have a complete medical test.
And that eye test that you mentioned
Yes.
earlier.
Yeah.
Just, you know, in this country, a player died at training of a football club.
Yes.
Who just continued racing, nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
You see that.
And how many times did what's his name? George
Oh.
collapse?
The goalkeeper. Yeah,
No.
George. Yeah, may
George
soul
Maluleka.
rest in peace. Yeah.
No. Twice.
Players passed away.
And life goes on.
Nobody,
Life goes
no,
on.
nobody's
Heart,
interested.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's wrong.
It is,
it's wrong.
and definitely, hopefully, more can be done. You know, when we have conversations like this, and unfortunately, we're running out of time. So that means we also kind of need to, kind of get into a conclusion.
Attack. If you go down at extra time, you attack, or you defend. So I just gave you a choice. Either you defend or you attack.
My nigga. So you want us to attack now? No. I think we're done. But I think more than anything, Lebza, I think what I want to find out from you is, I remember when you announced your retirement, is that you said that you're not going to disappear from football, that you will always be a part of it. What did you know that we didn't know at that point? Because now here you are at Cape Town City, and I mean, I see you as well, hanging out with, inspiring footballers as well, aspiring footballers who also have a dream to walk the shoes that you've walked in. So how did you know?
It's not a matter of knowing. I think it's when you get the feel of something, when you get to that point where you like, I'm enjoying this, but also you need to see what you're working on, giving also the response back. That's the players, that's the guys that I work with in the township, I'm a people's person, and Alex is so small that we probably know each other. So I'm used to working in groups where there's a lot of people in tight spaces, so I can deal with people a lot with different characters. So mixing that up, and I was a captain before, and I was a leader, and I think you saw me play yesterday. I'm quite vocal on the pitch,
Yes.
So the part of the reason why Coach Tinkler would say such things, because I was more like the player that becomes not the coach, but I was luckily blessed enough to see the game for other people.
Yeah.
I would see the game differently, and I could conduct as to where people should be in terms of my knowledge of the game, and that's a blessing that I had even as a player, that I knew how to make a difference from far with seeing only, but obviously
At least
now,
your eyes work.
yeah, well, they've worked so much right now, I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, that also comes with that leadership role and having to know how to speak to players, but also the experience I had with players, with all the things that we spoke about, I now come up as a person that's been through it and trying to help the guys, not to say your journey will be guaranteed to be like this, but I can sense, I've got that sense of seeing if things are going to go good or bad before they happen. So that's how I try to teach the kids to have a broader view of the game and to try to understand, like Doc said, that if you play football, it should be the number one thing when we put your family aside on all your problems or whatever that has to do with your personal side. But after that, football should be number one. And everything that comes with that is the message that I try to instill on the boys, but also to instill, to be sort of a role model. I can imagine a Neymar seeing Ronaldinho on his first day when he got to the national team camp.
Yeah.
I can imagine how Relay is feeling right now when he was there with Mshishi.
Yeah.
You see when Mabena plays with Mshishi, he even wears his jersey in the DDC.
Yeah.
When kids have a person like that, for me that person was my Imani Alfred Piri. He was constantly there.
Yeah.
He's still constantly there. I had somebody to look at. And then when I got into the game, there were guys like Teko that helped me a lot. There are guys like Shava, there are guys like Yeye.
Yeah.
These are the guys that have done it before me. I took it upon myself to say, I need to learn how these guys got to where they are. Why is Tsepo Masilela?
Yeah.
I got close to these guys and learned a lot through all these guys. And obviously, when it came to the coaching side, I was a guy that at halftime, if we're not playing well, we shouldn't be looking at the coach first because he's not playing. I was the guy that usually started
You
the
still
talks
do
in
that.
the change room.
Yeah.
Most of the thing is those things are not documented, but there are a
Yeah.
couple of times when I go to the change room and I was like, gentlemen, you're not pulling weight.
Mm.
I understand. Leave the coach. Coach, can you give us 2 minutes? Gentlemen, we are fooling around, you know?
Yeah.
And I was that kind of guy, vocal, but also I was the kind of guy, or I'm the kind of guy who's very positive, who believes a lot in myself, firstly, and then I can try to relay the same message to the boys to say, whether it's a Cristiano standing in front of you or it's Lebo standing in front of you, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Football is one, and we all have to share it at the end of the day, you know? So you have to try to be better than you were yesterday. And it's just being the positive energy around them, you know, as an ex-footballer. And I think that's helped me integrate into this club. But obviously being at City and what they've done for my life, for my career as a footballer, even as a person, you know. I've come very far with the boss from Ajax Cape Town as a boy to now as a man. A lot of the things I know about life are through Mr. John Committees and his family, you know, to be quite honest. So being in a familiar place worked for me. It would have been the same if I had gone to SuperSport, because I still know Doc, I still know Bafana, I still know all the guys that are there, you know. It would have been the same if I'd gone to Chiefs, because I still know all the guys there, you know. 'Cause I'm the one person that made sure that every team I went to, even at Aces, it's not there anymore, but I know the office, the boss's office. I can walk in anytime. So I'm the person that usually, when I come into a place, I want to leave memories, but also I want to leave relationships, you know, because relationships help you in the long run. Like you said now, if I would say with Dog, you're going to have to go maybe pay a little bit more. But because you came and brought yourself down to Doc, you can call Doc when you've retired and say, Doc, can I flop nyana ya shoulder? You see what I mean? So I'm that kind of person, you know. I always try to make sure that wherever I walk in, there's always positiveness. And
not burning bridges as well, Libs. I think that's also very important.
Exactly, you know. So how you apply yourself also opens certain doors for you, to be quite honest. That's what people must learn, that everything you do with everybody, don't take it for granted, because the little that is for you is not the little for another person. It might be something big for another person. So I never ever take that for granted. And I think that's what helped me gel into it. But there's still a long way to go into this coaching thing. I feel like I'm still young and have a lot to learn, and very open to learning, not only from the coaches, but even from seeing the public, seeing you guys in the media, how you control coaches. Those are things to learn. I take time to see how the coaches speak in interviews, what they say. So there's so much to learn. And I just open myself to everything that has to do with football, including even the medical side of things, so that I can also take care of myself also. You know, Doc, I see you. So the coaching has been good. It's not easy to deal with players. I know it's like the wheel turns, but it is not easy. It is not easy, but I'm enjoying it, man. I love it. I love seeing South African players play like they played yesterday. Not only South African, because we also have foreigners that come and do our football a world of justice, to be quite honest. You know? But I just love seeing players enjoy the game. You know, enjoy playing football with less stress. 100%. You know? So I'm just there to take all the stress from them, and they must just play football.
As difficult as they are. All right. On that note, I'm sure you've heard Lebza and Influencer talk a lot about Tinkler. So let's finally find out what Coach Eric Tinkler was saying about Lebza.
Lebo's obviously, I believe he's going for his D license. So he's obviously starting afresh. He was brought in initially. Why? Because he was the part of the squad back in 2016. He was my captain. Players listened to him. You know, not saying that they don't listen to me, but they listen to him. You know, and he kind of just reminds them of why we achieved what we achieved back in 2016, why we won the cups that we won. You know, and so he was brought in for that, but at the same time, for me to now nurture him and build him and make him aware what are the key factors. And does he really want to become a coach, you know? I think that's a decision he must still make, you know? Does he really want to become a head coach, or does he see him going in a different path, maybe to become just an assistant you know. But he's already doing his licensing, which shows that he actually enjoyed the experience.
Well, it's good, of course, to hear from Coach Tinkler speaking very nice words about you, Lebza. I think in a way you've already responded, but quickly, in your response, maybe also add, the importance of education and coaching. I mean, we're seeing a lot of coaches now, taking up the honors to say they need to also better themselves in that regard.
I think getting licensed or getting qualified as a coach is very important, because it's very easy to see. Like as a footballer, I always tell Coach Tinkler that, I saw you do certain things and I was like, what is he doing? You know? But when you get into the coaching, it's a different world. It's a different world. That means probably 50 people on the day have to follow your plan. So that means your plan can have mistakes, but they mustn't be big, because you're controlling a group that needs also a training that has rhythm.
For sure.
And all those things are things you're going to learn when you go to courses. So I would say, especially to ex-footballers, because ex-footballers, we have a thing of Tina Sialas.
Of course,
so I'm paying for my coaching lessons and stuff. Yeah, we are lazy, but you don't know how to set up a training session, a proper training session, going from warm-up or going from the minute they park their cars to when they finish.
The lack of sleep as well.
Yeah, that is what coaching courses will teach you. So when I went there, it opened my eyes a lot. And once I've done one, I want to do more now, because I feel like there's more to learn, And those kind of things you mustn't take lightly. So I'd urge not all, those that want to coach, ex-footballers especially, that, look, without ex-footballers and people that have played the game, never mind those that started, all due respect to them, but the guys that have played the game need to now go do the courses and understand what it means to be a coach, because being a coach is not being a player. That's different.
100%. All right. So it's a big weekend. I'm absolutely excited. We have the Euros coming up, and man. There's, of course, the conversation as to, will England finally take it home, bring it home? Everybody's saying no. Wow, guys. Okay, cool.
And you know why I don't want England to win? I was so disturbed by the English media
on Sunday.
India last match.
I hate them also
They
for
lose.
that now.
Bukayo Saka comes for the last 25 minutes.
Oh.
The post-match pictures of that match is a face of that boy. That, for me, they must be knocked out in the group stage.
Five different things. Newspapers have Bukayo Saka, and I was like,
that guy didn't contribute much to that.
I don't want to get into that conversation, but when you do that, then what are you saying? You're already
It's
you're already putting him there on the pedestal for people to shoot now.
It's wrong.
And
for
enough,
that, from my side, they must be knocked out the first round.
And that's a guy that's
actually helping
the
squad.
I mean, really.
True. Yeah, no.
He's their best player.
But it goes back to what you were saying about Percy. You see now. You see what happens. Imagine now Bukayo Saka, if he's not mentally ready for that Sunday part, how is he going into this first game now? Who killed him? Not the coach, not the players. The country.
Yeah,
to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, the English media is quite special. And it's funny enough, it's not only in football, because also in rugby, I remember Siamthanda Kolisi also mentioning the same thing, that how they operate is completely different.
Yeah, even that Bongi Mbonambi incident.
Yes, that's the one I'm referring to.
And they didn't understand what it means in Afrikaans. So, but anyway,
we are not there. As you can tell, everybody is a bit emotional. But Euros, who are you guys backing before we get out of here? Who do you think stands a chance to actually win it? We'll start with you, Lebza.
I'm the youngest here, no? You sent me that message earlier, and you know what I hate? I hate practice matches. Because practice matches will change your mind. You know? I had a feeling that Portugal, when I looked at their roster and their squad and where the players play and where they are actually at in terms of performance-wise, they have the best squad for me, they have the best squad in the Euros. And it was Portugal, but I think Toni Kroos has something special coming for the German team. So I think Germany, when I look at Germany with Kroos, I think they stand a better chance. But I'll say Germany, if not Germany, Portugal then.
Okay, that's a good top two. Doc, what about you?
I'm on Spain.
Espanol?
Yeah, I'm on Spain.
Okay.
I'm on Spain. They've got a young team, very young team, vibrant team.
If if you look into what we saw in the World Cup, hopefully they've been able to build into that because they made a good showing for themselves as well. Influencer?
I'll go with Lebza.
Which one?
Germany. I think Germany.
Okay, so France is not
Germany
on your
is
list.
a good.
France is not on your list.
Germany is a good.
France and England have the same problems.
Yeah.
The media.
Individualized.
They individualize. The minute Mbappe has a bad game, it's a bad tournament. All of a sudden. Doesn't matter who else plays well.
So if you look at Germany, it's a good all-round team.
Yeah.
And despite of that team is also big players playing for big clubs in Europe, had good seasons. I just feel they will do something. I mean, if you look at the way they performed at the previous World Cup, it shows you in rugby they call it bounceability.
Yeah.
A team that goes wrong but goes back, fix and come back strong. And most teams doesn't have that.
And the French don't like the Euros actually. If you follow what Mbappe has been saying, they rather play the World Cup than the Euros.
Yeah, for sure.
For them, you know. So they kind of struggle with the Euros a bit, but they also have a squad full of that can do anything anytime, you know. So they're in with a shout, but I feel like them and England, because of their media and the race card that they have in their respective countries, becomes a bit more difficult when the tournament goes on and on and on.
Are you hacked that there won't be Pogba?
I am hurt, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, I say
I feel like I feel he looks like a very good guy.
Yeah.
But the energy around him was also proper. You want to have players like Pogba in a tournament because you are guaranteed spectacular moments. He's that guy. He loves a show. And you want your guys that love a show at such tournaments.
Kind of what do you guys say? Big players?
Oh, big games for big players.
Big games for big
Don't say
players.
you had that from I never said that.
Yeah, we're quoting someone.
Tony Kroos.
The one thing, Coach, I want to say also about this tournament is that, I noticed this during the previous World Cup, the biggest star of this World Cup is going to be a teenager.
Yeah.
The World Cups of the future are going to be dominated by young players. And that also raises a question to us as South Africans as to where are our 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds?
I'll be honest with you. When I saw Relay yesterday, immediately in my head, I thought Relay will start the World Cup. If we qualify.
Yeah.
At this rate, with how he's going, he looks like yesterday was just the moment to say, I am going to start this World Cup.
Yeah.
Because he's...
That boy is amazing. That boy is amazing.
Yeah, he is.
I think there's something about that. You know, when I saw that smile, I just...
It warms your heart, right?
But it should tell us that
does.
Relay... But it should tell us something because there's a player in the Zim team, the number 20.
Number 20.
Yes.
The number 20. I don't know that guy. I didn't know him till yesterday. But when he touched the ball, I went to Google. And I was like, who's this guy? Then I realized this oak plays for Wolves, actually.
Yeah.
I
remember you were like,
Where Relay was.
EPL. You can
I was
tell
like,
the quality.
You can tell the quality of this guy. But it's not the quality that interested me. It's how the Zim team look at him and base and give him the superstar. Like, this is our star. This is our next star. You can see how they play that they're going to let this kid. And I had a conversation with Katsande yesterday, and I was like, who's this kid? And he said, my man, this kid is the future.
Yeah.
And I get that feeling around them, and I feel like we should be giving guys like Relay this in our country.
100%.
You understand? I'm not saying he should now come in and be the starter, but as soon as Relay hits that high level, that Mshishi level, you know, that week in, week out performances.
We should let him
Relay, there's no problem with Relay being our Neymar. Every poster in this country should be Relay.
It should.
Why not?
Yeah.
If you go to Brazil, it's Neymar.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Vinicius is coming now, but he comes in, and when he sees Neymar is his role model. Neymar is not his
100%.
competitor.
Yeah.
So now us, Relay plays well, Apolis plays well, Tito plays well.
Yeah.
Take out Mshishi, take out Pesi. Guys, but Relay was actually watching your Timbers, and that's why he's in the national team, because they inspired him.
Yeah.
Let him play with them. Then, when it's time to make the change, it will happen automatically.
We
Temba
don't have
will wake
to
up one
force
day and
it,
say,
yeah.
guys, but I can tell you right now, if you keep on saying Temba is done, he'll keep showing you he's
You
not
will
done.
keep showing us that he's
That's
not
the
done,
guy
yeah?
I know. I know very well where his head is at, and he's so strong mentally. So
Yeah.
I think if we have to glorify a superstar who's as special as what Relay looks like right now, I think let him be the poster boy of this country, but we also protect him.
Yeah.
You know, not just make him a superstar and let him loose.
Lebza, I said it before AFCON. I said, let's take this kid to AFCON, even if he's not going to play. Just to go there and be part of the training, be out of the country, see what happens out there, be in the stadium, feel the noise of the stadium, just be there. And that's what Brazil did in Italia 90 when
they always bring a kid.
Ronaldo to the
They
World
always
Cup.
bring a kid.
I mean, we know what we know. Knowing what we know now with Ronaldo, you have to show these kids a chance. They took him there.
Not Ronaldinho were there in World Cups without playing. We didn't know. But he was just there for the experience. England called up a few kids right now to be in the provisional squad just to be there. They get the feeling and then they drop them. But
Other
that feeling of being there, they do that.
But you don't have a budget for this thing.
You understand? If I say, let's put Emil Vet Boy start, the country will go crazy if we lose that game. They'll even forget that we played a 15-year-old. Because results are life in this country. That's a
There's a budget to take the 3 players on standby to output.
No, if it's good enough, it's old enough.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. On that note, that's how we wrap up the show. It's been absolutely amazing. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did, and of course took a bit of notes, and I think this was a very informative episode. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
The class is done. Class is adjourned now.
So you understand how you go from how you take care of your body to playing, and then you make the content out of your playing. So you got in steps here, you're good.
Thank you so much.
It was also disclosed here that the dog questioned my age.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Goodbye.
Thank you. Go.
Thank you.
Mr. T.
Hectic. It's actually 5 o'clock.